All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Design Review Board public meeting of September 13th, 2018 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and just cell phones. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants on any of the applications to be reviewed today, are asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be asked to speak by the board when your case is called. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project in the event of a return for redesign needs to completely fill out one of the postcards, the brown postcards, provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent hearings. Current DRB agendas are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB appeal is available from staff. Roll call. Ms. Arzumanian.
Here.
Mr. Benlian.
Here.
Mr. Charchian is absent. Mr. Malikian. And Mr. Simonian is absent. Report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on September 16th, 2018. Oral communications. Actually, before we do that, I don't think there are any, but you all need to decide on a chair for this evening.
I move to select Mr. Benlian as chair.
All right.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right. I don't believe there are any oral communications, but is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on an item that isn't part of the agenda? Both of you want to speak on the Boston project? Okay, just making sure. At this point, we don't have any staff announcements, so I'll just proceed right into the DRB agenda. We have one case this evening. It's design review. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right.
Do we want to get the other business out of the way, nominating Mr. Malikian for the downtown specific plan?
Oh.
Should we do that now?
That isn't, actually, that's not a part of the agenda. So we can't do that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's what they
Yeah,
mentioned. They want.
Vilya mentioned
Vilya
that
said
they're supposed to nominate. And
do it.
That's fine,
Okay, well,
We'll just deal with it later.
maybe during the staff or the applicant presentation, I'll go back
Okay,
and, because I don't know anything about that, so.
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
No problem.
So we're down to design review case number 1800217. It's a project located at 4923 Boston Avenue. The applicant is Vartan Jangozian. And it is in addition to an existing single-family house. However, during the process of the initial project, the scope of the work expanded such that we are considering a new house. So it's really a new house, even though it's in some ways very similar to what's out there now. So the plans are behind you. As I mentioned, it's case number 1800217. It's a review of a proposal to construct a one-story, 991 square foot addition to an existing 1,430 square foot single-story, single-family residence. There's also a 47 square foot addition to the attached 399 square foot garage. The subject lot is 7,540 square feet. It's zoned R1 with the floor area ratio District 2. And as I mentioned before, the address is 4923 Boston Avenue. Initially, a similar project was given an exemption from design review. However, the scope of the work was expanded during construction to include additional demolition of the existing house, and that additional demolition is now considered, the project is now considered a new single-family house. So that's the official project.
So, if that's the case, then the setbacks and everything are okay? Or-
They are, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Staff believes the site planning for the project is appropriate because it does not change significantly as a result of the project and is consistent with other homes in the surrounding neighborhood. The front-loaded attached garage is typical of the surrounding neighborhood of ranch houses. And the new landscaping is drought-tolerant and complementary to the ranch-style architecture of the residence. With regard to mass and scale of the residence, staff conditionally supports this component of the project. The site will remain a one-story house. Staff recommends, however, the south elevation shall contain a break in plane to comply with the single-family design guidelines and mitigate the mass of this facade from the residence. As conditioned, the roof plan shall be revised to better integrate the roof forms near the entry of the residence with the remainder of the house. Staff also conditionally supports the design and detailing of the residence as the entry, the entry as conditioned will be appropriately highlighted without being overbearing, and the siding and stone veneer will be added to the facade and will terminate in a logical place. Staff recommends a number of conditions of approval and 2 considerations, and those include the first condition, an offset of 12 to 18 inches shall be incorporated into the master bedroom addition of the south elevation to reduce the appearance of mass at the location and better comply with the single-family design guidelines, which encourage side yard setbacks to be varied in width. The second condition, restudy the roof plan to better integrate the roofing at the entry with the remainder of the house and at the master bedroom addition to accommodate the additional offset of the south-facing wall. Third condition, revise the front entry of the residence to appropriately signify the location of the front door to the house. The design of the single front door entry shall be reviewed and approved by staff. Fourth, a new character window shall be installed at the front garage facade of the residence. Design of this window shall be reviewed and approved by staff. Additionally, all front-facing windows shall be hung windows. The fifth condition, the 2 bathroom windows in the south elevation shall be revised in size for better proportionality within the elevations. The sixth condition, a window shall be fiberglass. The seventh condition, install a capstone for review and approval by staff immediately above the proposed veneer to be located on the front elevation of the residence. The eighth and final condition, incorporate siding on the left front elevation, wrapping the building with this material until the master bedroom facade at the south elevation. And then the one consideration, consider reducing the proposed 10-foot ceiling plate height to 9 feet to enable an overall reduction in mass and provide and use an open roof design to achieve greater ceiling height. Those were the conditions and consideration. That almost concludes my presentation. However, Mr. Malikian kind of looked at me a little bit strange when I said that the house complies with code. What I did not, when I neglected to mention was, there was an administrative exception approved
That's what I
for that. So, sorry, it took me
Yeah.
a delayed reaction to realize what was going on.
Just a quick question. You read the approval conditions, but it seemed like mine is a little bit different than what you just read. I have two considerations,
Okay.
and then your number 8 that you read, what did you read, number 8, on the conditions?
Incorporate siding on the left front elevation.
Mine is a final
Final
design of
design.
permeable paving shall be reviewed and approved by staff.
Okay,
And
so
I have
let me,
Second
That's
consideration.
7, yeah, incorporated.
let me,
Yeah.
I may have pulled a old
Okay,
report.
okay.
Roger, you can use my copy.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
I mean, we read it, so you don't need to, but I-
Right,
Very good.
I think what I did was I had an old staff report.
That's,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay,
Any more questions to staff?
we're good.
We'll go ahead and open the public portion. And we'll start with, do I have a card from the applicant? Rodney, okay. So we'll start with Rodney Kahn.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chairman, board members, and city staff. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located on Brand Boulevard here in the city of Glendale. And just for a point of clarification, we have the same conditions of approval that the board has, which is the 8 with the 2 recommendations as well. This project has been going on for quite some time. So it doesn't surprise me that Mr. Kiesel didn't remember the administrative exception, because I didn't either. And that was granted several months ago for this property. Just to take a step back, the improvements to this house were originally exempted from design review. And it went through the plan check and the permitting process, as any project does. And they started the construction, they started the framing, and discovered that there was termite damage and there was dry rot kind of throughout the framing. So obviously it makes sense to replace that as you're doing your improvements. That is what took place, and therefore they exceeded the 50% rule, and now it's where that requires design review.
Rodney, if I may ask, how much did they remove? Did they remove the whole entire structure?
I believe, and I'll look back, I think it was the majority of the structure. Was it the entire structure that was removed?
Actually, the footprint is based on the existing wall.
Okay, it's fine.
We just did addition.
No problem. We'll just go on.
Yeah, I'll go on, and maybe when he gets up to the microphone, you can take that into consideration. But we came back to staff. They said, you know what, you have to go back to the board. We're going to classify this as a new project. We'd like to see some modifications. So that's what we did. We took the original approval, and there were about 5 or 6 modifications that they wanted done. One was the front entry. And if you look at the proposal for the front entry, it was very different than what is either framed out there or what was originally approved. And the comment was that the front entry needed work, that it should be more prominent, that it should be more important than what was originally approved and exempted. So that was to be changed to what you see here today. The second was there was a window, and you'll see it now, that was on the garage that faced the street. That had been eliminated. And they said, bring that back now, as you guys are being looked at differently, and make it more of a character window. So we did that as well. On the south elevation, which in the plans, I guess it refers to as the left side elevation, which if you look at the top sheet, it's the second one down. There were 2 bathroom windows, and at the time it was exempted, they were not proportional. And so they said, come back, and they said, make them proportional. They're not in scale, which is what we did. And then 2 other comments was a capstone on the top of the stone veneer, which you see we did. And then last, they wanted some siding to be introduced on the front of the building, what they referred to as the south or secondary bedroom, which we installed as well.
Question.
Hmm?
So these conditions are not reflecting the drawings right now we have?
That's correct. These conditions are new and different conditions than when we originally had discussed with them.
Okay, but these conditions that they're talking about what you have proposed right now?
They're reflecting the review of this
The
project.
review, okay,
Yes,
okay. all right,
exactly.
Okay.
So to kind of jump forward to what Mr. Malikian just mentioned, the conditions of approval that are being suggested, I would just like to take a few minutes, if I can, and just talk about them briefly. Most of them we can incorporate. A few of them I would like to respectfully disagree with. If I start off with the first one of an offset of 12 to 18 inches being incorporated into the master bedroom addition on the south elevation, I'm sure you've all been out there, and as you travel up Boston, you pass Santa Carlotta, and you're going up, the property directly south of ours has some mature, larger Italian cypress trees. They have some fairly heavily landscaped. It's tough to see in this image because it's washed out because of the lighting. But you can see, if you can see it, there's fairly large landscaping that's there. In addition to which, we are landscaping, and you can see on our plan, on our side. So you're really not visibly seeing that elevation from any real perspective. To us, to make a 12-inch or 18-inch offset just for the sake of making an offset, to us does not make sense. We would prefer that it remain at that same setback, which does meet code and really isn't that elongated. The second condition somewhat relates to that. There's 2 parts of it. One is to integrate roof forms at the entry, which we thought we did. If you have some suggestions or recommendations, we're happy to hear that. The second part of it talks about this additional offset, which once again, we don't really see how that improves anything or is necessary. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the third and the fourth, fine. The fifth one, the 2 bathroom windows in the south elevation shall be revised for better proportionality within the elevation. They're actually bathroom windows. And if you look at that south elevation, we thought they were proportional with each other. We wouldn't want to make them larger or more substantial as they are restroom windows. They're not bedroom windows. The 6th, the 7th, the 8th is fine. And then the 2 considerations. The first consideration to reduce the proposed 10-foot ceiling plate to 9-foot would basically say you need to demolish the building because it would be no way of doing that. And once again, and I tried to emphasize this before we started, we built those ceiling heights were the same heights that we originally were approved at and we were exempted under. So that didn't change. And then the last one, consider eliminating the decorative paving in the front yard, leaving to the side. That would be fine. So there's really a few of them that, once again, we would respectfully disagree with. I'll conclude my remarks. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or you can ask me later as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Vankan Dikranian. I took them in order, so.
What's that?
I
Oh,
took them in order.
it's okay. Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Vanikan Dekranian. I'm the neighbor, 4917 Boston Avenue. So, shall I continue?
Go for
Yeah.
it.
So, we lived there since the year 2000, me and my wife and our two sons. And the reason we chose it because it's a very quiet neighborhood. And
First of all, you didn't mark your card. Are you in favor or in opposition to the project?
I don't know. This is the first time I'm into one
Okay,
of
so
these things, so I'm not sure.
Interest.
Just
right.
complaining maybe a little bit, maybe more than I should, because it's been in that state, for over 2 years, and as mentioned in my
Yeah.
notes, that we haven't invited any guests to our backyard because it's an embarrassing sight to see that monstrosity built there. Anyway, plus, the things have been falling onto our side, debris and whatnot. So, and also all kinds of creatures are living there. We don't know what. At night they make all kinds of noises. So, besides all that, which is obviously a lot for us, just the size of the property in comparison to the surrounding it's huge, and it's more or less, if you go to our yard and you look, it's more or less covered the whole northern side of our view. There are windows there, there's 3 windows, they're not all the same size, but we were worried about privacy. And just the size of it is giving us kind of very stressful just looking at that thing, that huge building. Whereas before it was a modest-sized building. And yeah, I have sort of been saying stuff. I didn't read it quite exactly what I've written here, but pretty much is what I'm saying. And the neighbors have been telling us, like what's happening, and also we don't know. But really, that's the main issue. Is just the size of the property with the surrounding neighborhood. It just looks higher. I mean, I'm a designer, I'm an industrial designer, not an architect, but from what it was and what it is, and now I'm hearing like it's a new building. And stuff like, it mentions the house built 1940. What house? There is no house there, 1940. It mentions that there. It's like, whoa, should this have been posted 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Because there is nothing left of that existing building. 4923 residents that I knew of. So.
We got it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and there's these photos that show what our view is of this property.
Next speaker, Brenda Hernandez.
I'm Brenda Hernandez. I live on 4927, so I live on the northern side of the property. And I agree about with you about how massive it looks. From the front, I realize that in this picture, it perhaps does not capture at least what is there now. And what is there now is not what the original house looked like at all. But we have from our yard, it looks huge. And also the privacy issue, like you mentioned, on our side as well, because there is a window currently in what remains of the home, and we have not been living there as long as you have. We've been living there since 2015, and for the same reason we chose the home. We have 2 small kids, and it's very quiet. And at the time, the home was it was the original home, and once this project either started, I'm not sure if it started then or when, but it's just been a hardship from the beginning of when we started living there. There's been animals, beehives. There's been police coming because somebody thought that they saw a homeless person there, and they end up at our home trying to figure out what's going on in that home. We've been having to call the city several times because we couldn't even walk in the sidewalk because of the shrubs that were there. There was, when the project was abandoned, there was trash left over. We didn't know if it was hazardous or what it was, so again, having to call the city to see what was happening there. It finally got picked up. The fencing was not complete either for the project, and once they put up a fencing, it was just basically coming down on our side. So again, having to call the city numerous times about what's going on in that property. We also, when the construction was going on before this, there were people on our property trying to assess what to do on that property. I'm not sure if it was a construction company or the architect at the time. I do not know. But we're also asked if we could use the water from our house because they needed something on their side, and almost just going for it. You know what I mean? Like not really asking. So it's been a real hardship for us, and so we would really like for it to be built to code for the code that it should be, and not allow these exceptions to be this massive home.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
Once again, Rodney Kahn. I think, yeah, I'm very sympathetic to what the neighbors said. We had a house that was unfinished, sitting vacant in our neighborhood for an extended period of time, and you do get issues. You get animals, you get trash, you get debris, and just looking at it. And so their comments are valid. It's not to take anything away from them. But it would be nice to be finished. And so I think the reason we're here tonight, or today, is to get this construction completed. And that will address many of the items, maybe not all, but many of the items that I heard. The second thing as it relates to the project itself, and I've been up there several times. I don't live there, but I've been up there several times. I looked at it in kind of the context of what's going on in the area. It's a one-story house. It's not a two-story house. So in terms of the privacy issues, usually you hear that on a second story that's looking down into other people's properties. And in this case, that's not the case. It is one story. And in terms of the design that's being proposed, we actually think it's an improvement from what was there and an improvement for the area. But anyway, I'll conclude my remarks, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? We'll go ahead and close the public portion and start the deliberation. You
Sure.
want to start, Mr. Malikian?
So I always appreciate neighbors coming out, expressing their concerns, and listening to them and understanding what the main issues are with a proposed project or being a neighbor and what they're dealing with. Our responsibility is to make sure that the house is designed well. It meets all the design requirements and review the design. Unfortunately, we're not here to control the construction, how they upkeep the property itself. That is not our preview, or we can dictate them what to do. But we are here, and we are going to be looking at the design and making sure that the design is within the context of what they're proposing, and it's done properly. As far as the size, the massiveness, everyone within the neighborhood are in the District 2, which means they can build up to 40% of their lot area. So every house there is capable of building, being much larger and bigger, and that's by right, without asking for any kind of a variance or anything. This particular project, majority of the addition is happening in the back. So as far as the neighbors, or as far as what you're going to be seeing in Boston, pretty much it's going to be the same. We do need to talk about the entry, but overall, I think the addition is happening to the back. So the mass and the scale or anything that we should be looking at, it's away from the view, nor, and I don't see the building getting taller or anything like that. So I think everything is staying within its form. As far as the design itself, I think it's a simple, modest house. The additions are proposed in the right location of the house rather than proposing a second story. I appreciate being cautious of what the neighborhood is and not proposing a second story. So that is a good thing. As far as the staff's comment, and I want to go down the list, and I want to talk about a couple of the conditions. So I do agree that pushing the back rear building 12 to 18 inches, I think it may create a little bit more issue than solve the setback, the mass problem. So, and I'm looking at it, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to solve the roof, once the wall is pushed in about 12 to 18 inches. I think that's going to create other issues for the roof, and it's going to create these odd shapes there. So, because what it's going to result in, and being in the back of the building, and it's actually getting wider in the back rather than the front, I'm comfortable to move the first condition as a consideration rather than a condition. If they find a solution, if they think that they can find a solution for that, that's fine, but I do not want that to be a condition. As far as restudy the roof for better integration of roof form at the entry, that you may want to consider looking at the mass itself. Being that there's a bedroom behind that covered area and the bedroom window is like offset, I don't know what kind of a condition of a bedroom it's going to be, being in a covered, overhang and everything else. So, and maybe even possible to kind of soften up on even the pilasters or anything like for the backup for the garage. But I'm fine with the way it is, and I think, if it can be massaged, better. And I don't know if there is a solution for it, to be honest with you, or not, but I think it's always a problem when you have two gable roofs coming together and they're not meeting each other, and then how do you create or how do you solve that transition? So either you got to add another gable or you create a taller element there to, but it's always been a challenge. So, I think it's a fine solution. But creating a monumental entry, it's a modest home, that's something that we can leave up to the designer. As far as the design of the single door front entry shall be reviewed and approved by staff, the door is hidden on the side. So honestly, I don't know how much of a single door or double door is going to make a difference. I mean, it's just along on the side. It's not a front.
It's not visible, yeah.
It's not visible. So I would make that as a consideration. Design a new character window. I'm okay with that. I think there's a conflict. I think the sliding window that you have for the bedroom, I don't know which bedroom it is, bedroom number 1, and I'm assuming it's a single hung or a double hung window for the garage. I would probably, if you want to make that a character window with the divided the lights that it has and the muttons, the triangular muttons, maybe you want to make the window to be double hung or a single hung. So maybe it's one of them has that or not, or make that a completely different window or something. But it's just kind of, it's a very modern, sliding doors are very modern, windows are modern, and then that one is a very traditional window that you find in very traditional homes. So I think the two kind of contradict. So I think picking a right window on the side, it would be, or maybe it can be just a picture window or something. I don't know. But yeah, and I think it's fine. The two bathroom windows, I think I think the way it's designed, it's fine.
It can be a consideration, yeah.
It can be a consideration, exactly. The stone veneer with the capstone shall terminate on the front and the side elevation at a logical place. That's fine. I actually want to, one more thing, incorporate adding siding on the garage facade, wrapping the, okay, I have a suggestion for number 7. As a matter of fact, rather than add siding to the front, I want to suggest if we actually remove the siding so that everything is just basically stucco and stone, just a simple, clean, clean with a nice base, and I think that would do it. I mean, if we're going to go with siding, then fine. I mean, I think it's just going to be a plaster, more of a, I just think that you may want to consider either removal of the siding and not worry about the siding, or if you're going to keep the siding, I agree with staff that a siding should add on, so maybe the front end it has the siding and it should terminate. So I'm fine with both.
I think you remove the siding.
I just think that I think it's we're adding materials to solve something that it's, in my opinion, you may not need to have. And the final design permit, that I'm fine with that. So, other than that, I think the rest considerations we can leave. It's just a consideration. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Malikian. Ms. Arzumania?
All right. So I really appreciate, again, the neighbors being here, and I'm glad we're here to sort of come up with the solution and move this project forward. I agree with most of what Mr. Malikian said and about the siding. I don't have a strong opinion. I'll leave it to the architects. But other than that, with the considerations, moving 1 and 3 and 5 into consideration, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you. So, again, thank you guys for coming out, and we are here tonight to basically move this project forward, and that would help with a lot of the issues you guys brought up. Some of the privacy issues, we can't have cross-communication. Some of the privacy issues you guys have mentioned don't really apply because, first of all, it's a single family, it's a single story house, and these windows we're talking about, they're either bathroom windows or bedroom windows. So that wouldn't be an issue. Other than that, I agree with Mr. Malikian. It's a simple design. It's appreciate the fact that we're not looking at a 2-story addition. The addition is happening in the right places, even though that's coming at the cost of losing some of your yard. But again, it's happening in the right spots. In terms of design and detail, I think that the design is simple, and it's probably similar to what existed, so we're fine with that. I think with the staff comments and the few modifications that Mr. Malikian had gone down the list, I think I'm in agreement as well. So we can, if we want to have maybe a reading of which are going to be the considerations and which are going to be the conditions, and then we'll take a motion.
Yeah, I can review that because I think I have one question. But probably the easiest is, okay, condition number 1, the offset, you want to make that a consideration.
Correct.
Condition 2, restudy the roof plan, that's also a consideration.
Correct.
The design of the front door, number 3, consideration.
I
Yes.
believe so, yeah.
Okay. Number 4 is where I had the question. The second sentence of condition number 4, all front and visible side-facing windows shall be hung windows. There was some discussion about what I saw is that you have the diamond double hung window and everything else was sliding. So what, they're sort of the
So-
disconnect?
Yeah, so what I was saying is that if it's a double hung, let the other window be double hung. One would have the muttons as it's shown, the other
Okay.
one would be
Would-
without muttons. Like that.
Okay.
So it's somehow, it has some tying to, or they can leave the sliding window, but then come up with a completely a new window as suggested by staff. Because right now,
There is a
very
contradiction.
traditional, like a
Right.
ranch home style window, whereas the rest of the house is a little bit more modern and more of a modern flavor to it.
Okay, so
It's
if
just
I'm
a kind of-
understanding you correctly, leave condition number 4 as a condition,
Right.
but then add or change the diamond facing garage window to a more modern design.
Something that will complement the sliding window if they're
Okay.
going to keep the sliding.
Okay,
For example, a picture window or a, whatever it is.
I think number 4 needs to be kind of rewritten.
okay. All right, so, and number 5, condition, just eliminate.
Yes.
Correct.
Condition number 6,
That's fine.
leave as a condition.
Yes, as is.
Condition number 7 is,
So what I'm saying is if I'm giving them the option of keeping the siding where they have right now for the window bedroom number 1, and if they do, then follow staff's condition.
Or
right,
leave it.
or
remove it.
eliminate all
Eliminate
all
the
siding.
siding and just leave it as a stucco and just leave it as that. So,
Okay.
and just add those.
So you can keep it and say or eliminate
Right.
siding. Okay.
And then, condition number 8
It is fine.
is a condition.
Mhm.
And then the 2 considerations
Are fine.
are fine as consideration.
Yes.
Okay. So I think I'm clear. Looks like you all are clear.
Just one more quick note.
Okay.
There's no call out for, I'm assuming there will be some sort of a fencing done around the perimeter, some sort of a fence, or it'll just be left open, or,
Do you want the applicant to come up?
yeah. So
You need to
okay,
come
so-
up to the mic,
Yeah, can you,
please.
I just want to ask a question regarding, yeah, I've just a quick question.
I didn't get the question. It's about the front fence or?
No, just the side, when
side?
the project is done, are you gonna
Actually,
put a
northern
fence or?
part of the property, there is a 5-foot retaining wall,
Okay,
and no need to make any, actually, they have a fence, wood fence on top.
okay.
So we don't need on the northern part. But
Okay.
in the back and the south side, we're considering to do
Okay.
fence wall.
Well, anyways, it's gonna be on the,
Yeah.
a separate,
Yeah.
okay, all right, perfect.
And by the way, I like to talk about the south side. We don't have any windows to
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
jeopardize
we're- we're-
anybody's
yeah.
privacy.
Yeah.
We already addressed it that way. Thank you. So I'll
I'll move
entertain a motion.
to approve with conditions and consideration as read.
Second?
Second?
Okay, this will be a roll call. Approve the project with conditions, Mr. Malikian?
Yes.
Ms. Arzumanian?
Yes.
And Mr. Benlian?
Yes.
Okay, great. Motion carried 3-0. There were 2 minutes on the agenda for you all to approve. However, we don't have a quorum for either of them.
Nope.
Actually, if you need 2 out of 3, right? So I can, well.
I don't-
Well, I have to, yeah, we don't have a.
We'll,
Yeah.
Have
we'll
to.
do them next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
motion.
Adjourned.
adjourn.
Okay, thank you.